In this episode, I give you guys some really, really big news. All right, hey, what's going on? And welcome back to the Sea and Land Fitness Podcast with Michael Sahno. I'm Michael Sahno, your host. How's it going? Hope everything's been good. This podcast is, of course, brought to you by Sea and Land Fitness. I got the shirt on, the hat. We have got all of this stuff for you in the store, so go check it out. Just visit www.seaandlandfitness.com. All right, so I took last week off, and the reason I took last week off was because I'm at the University of Florida. Normally I have my GATORS shirt on and my Sea and Land Fitness hat on, but I'm rocking the SNL Fitness today. But normally I have my GATORS shirt on, and that is because I am in a master's program at the University of Florida in the College in Health and Human Performance. And I've had a couple of professors on, Dr. Harris and Dr. Beatty. We're going to have some more on over the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. That's coming soon. But it is the end of the semester, so I had a lot of coursework to finalize. And as I said in the beginning, I have big news. And that big news is I am a CES now. Now, for those of you who don't know what a CES is, it is a corrective exercise specialist. And basically what that is that's someone who finds muscle imbalances inside your stature and your movement. And basically what I do is I give you programs and plans to correct those imbalances. So what a CES does, and it's out by NASM, which is the National Academy of Sports Medicine, or Association of Sports. I think it's Academy. But that's a certification, and it's a pretty big one. I'm not a personal trainer, which on its own is a really righteous thing to get. But I am a corrective exercise specialist. And basically what that is, so let's say you do this thing, and there's this thing we learned about called the Davies test. And the Davies test is you get in the push-up position, full up, not down into the plank on your elbows, but into the full push-up position, and you walk from one hand to the other. And I actually encourage everyone to do just a simplified Davies test on their own, and more than likely you'll find that one side is stronger than the other. If you're right-handed, it'll be your left side. If you're left-handed, it'll be your right side. If you're awesome, then that won't be the case. But if you're like the general population, you'll find that you do have a muscle imbalance. I have one in my left leg, and it's two of the inner muscles. And what happened was I had knee surgery, and my PT just didn't resolve it. No harm, no foul on the PT guy, but it just never resolved itself. So what I'm doing now, along the lines of corrective exercise, in order to get that muscle balance back, is I swim. I don't know if you've listened to this, you'll know that I swim. If you don't, I do at least 3 times a week, which I'm going to do actually after filming this podcast. I go and I do breaststroke for about a half mile. And I try to do it at a pretty, not super intense pace, because it's a long ways. It's not a huge distance. I wouldn't call myself, like an endurance distance, but it's a significant distance. You tell people I swim a half mile a day, and they're like, geez, wow. Because the brain doesn't really equate what a half mile is. But when you're standing there and you're looking at a half mile and you're like, okay, maybe that's not that far. Maybe you're not Mark Spitz. But anyways, that's what I do. So one of the things that I found was the kick on the breaststroke. My knees were coming apart too far, and that was so my body could produce the power, the force that was needed to propel myself in that portion of the swim, the kick portion of the stroke. And so what I did is I put a resistance band around my knees, above my knees, and I do it that way. And man, it is a bear. And it's crazy because I'm really feeling it. And my wife, I was in the kitchen and I was standing there. I was doing something by the sink or whatever, and my wife goes, "Oh my God, what's wrong with you?" And I said, "What?" She's like, your leg, your whole lower body is shaking." And I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm just these muscles that I've been exercising with the resistance band, they weren't awake before. They're awake now, and they're like really weak. So it'll be a little while, a couple weeks before they come back fully." So she was like, "Okay, I just want to make sure we didn't have to call the doctor." But no, everything's good. I'm going to have a sip of coffee real quick. Hold on. Peter Madeira, if you're out there, which I'm sure you are because you are a dedicated listener, this is for you, brother. All right, so that brings me into what's going on. So I have a ton of stuff going on. I am super busy, even though I'm winding up with the school stuff. There's so much on the horizon. There's so much going on. As I told you, I just got my CES. What's up? I am now a CES. And I got to tell you, as soon as I got that thing, as soon as I passed the exam and they sent me their certificate and it populated on the board, I went to LinkedIn and put a comma CES in there, like almost immediately. But for me, this is the summer of certification. So just to give you a little bit of background, I was in the military for 10 years. I was in the Navy for 6, in the Army for 4. And then I became a stay-at-home dad. Some stuff happened in the military. I'm a disabled veteran, but whatever. It's not a big deal. So I was in got out of the Army, came home. I was actually going to become a New York City police officer and then got hurt, came home, and wound up with the blessing from my wife to be able to come home and be a stay-at-home parent, stay-at-home dad. My wife has a really great job in advertising. That's where we met. And she afforded me, and literally, I mean this, the luxury of being able to be a stay-at-home parent. I can't thank her enough. What's up, Steph? And then I went undergrad to City College of New York. COVID hit. We went down to, I had always wanted to build this sports facility and went to try to do that. And after I got out of college, I came up with this big idea to do this sports facility. And then the first question someone asked was, "Well, do you have any credentials?" And I said, no, I'm sorry, I don't. And they said, "Well, it's going to be kind of difficult for you then." And they were right. They were absolutely right. Nobody really wanted to talk. They love the idea, but the idea of actually investing in it, in the unknown risk quantity, was just too high. So I kind of it's weird how life works. So I kind of put it on the back burner. COVID hit. My other business kind of dried up because it was related to travel. And then we took a trip to Miami, and I was looking at master's programs prior to that, prior to getting on the plane. And we got there, and I got this Instagram ad for the University of Florida for the program I'm in now. Wow. Totally changed my life. Totally changed my life. And that's where I am today, finishing this up. This is my last full semester. I have one class for the summer semester, and then I graduate. I have to take the exam. Another sip of coffee. Hold on. So for those of you who don't know, all of the yammering. So if you've ever seen like comedians or speakers, they'll always have glasses of water on the podium. That's why, because your mouth gets so dry from talking. But anyways, where was I? We were in Miami. I got this ad, and now I'm here. I'm almost at the end of it. And Dr. Harrison had this, he's our strength and conditioning guy. He's our nutrition guy. He is the corrective exercise guy. And he worked something out with NASM where our final exam could be the certification exam. So I'd be a fool not to take it. And I passed. Yay. I'm not going to tell you the score. I'm just not. I'm not embarrassed. I'm just like not going to tell you the score. I know it. I'm qualified and I'm certified. That's all you need to know, folks. So I passed it, and I had always been meaning to do this. And I kind of had it in the back of my head. But now I'm really going to do it because now I'm extra motivated to do it because I passed this one. This is going to be the summer of certification. And there's a couple of certifications that I'm going to get. So one of the courses, I told you, Dr. Harrison, in my program, he set this one up for, and he used the textbook for it too. So it was almost like the course was just made to take the test at the end of it. The other one I'm going to take is called TSAC-F. And it's Tactical Strength and Conditioning Facilitator. That's by an organization called NSCA, which is the National Strength and Conditioning Association. That is a trade organization that you can become a part of if you are in a college program or graduated a college program. But they also offer stuff to people who haven't gone to college. Like they have a personal trainer one. They also have the TSAC one, which is specifically designed for members of the military or police officers, or other people. And since, you're probably going to have enlisted guys or girls taking it, there's a high probability that they won't have a college degree, so they loosened up that requirement. So I'm going to get I have the CES, which is Corrective Exercise Specialist. I'm getting the Tactical Strength and Conditioning Facilitator from NSCA. The other one was from NASM. And then I'm also getting what's called CSCS, which is, I'm going to get this wrong too, Certified Strength and Conditioning Coordinator? I don't know. I don't know what it means. I know I've read it. I've seen it 8,000 times. And it's one of those kind of things where what's your friend's name? Or what's that guy's name at work? Hold on. Is his name Larry? It's one of those kind of things. So you know it, but you don't know it. I know it starts with an L. So I'm getting CES, the TSAC-F, and then I have CES. I'm getting the TSAC-F. I'm getting the CSCS, and that one's kind of a big one. And then there are two more that I want to get. So as far as the TSAC and the CSCS are concerned, the CSCS, the Certified Strength and Conditioning Coordinator, making a face for those of you who are listening, that one's higher than the TSAC-F. It's more, there's a little bit more knowledge that's required that you would get from a college program. So there are two other certifications I want to get, and those are really, really good, big professional ones. One's from the ISSN, and that is the nutrition. It's not a nutritionist, but it's a sports nutrition specialist kind of thing. And that's a big one. That one's a big deal. And then the other one I want to get is exercise physiologist certificate. And that one's from the Academy of, wait a minute, what is that? American College of Sports Medicine. That's the one. And that one's a big deal. And I actually, so if I was going to put it in order of like prestige and prevalence, I would make it exercise physiologist. That would be the top one. The sports nutrition one would be next. Then it would be CSCS, which is the strength and conditioning. Then the tactical one, TSAC-F. And then either on the end of that, CES would go, or CES would go before CSCS. Because, and the only reason I say that is because CES deals with dynamics that are a little larger in scope than being a strength and conditioning coach. You actually have to look at the symmetry of the overall. There may be things. A CES will know basically all the things that a CSCS knows, but there are a number of things that the CES knows that the CSCS may not know. So yeah, that's what's going on. It's the summer of certifications. It's going to be, and the thing is, each one is like, on average, $400 to $500. So they're not cheap. Going to be emptying the savings for this. No, not emptying it, but it's gonna be a significant expense. But in the end, I get to have like an alphabet soup at the end of my name on LinkedIn. So I'm super excited about that. So that's what's going on this summer. I have one course to take, and it's in sports psychology, and it is performance enhancement. And it basically focuses on psychological skills for pushing through boundaries and stuff like that. Honestly, what it is it's like the CES for sports psych. And sports psych is my jam. Speaking of, hold on, one more sip of coffee. Another huge thing that's going on, very huge thing that's going on, is I've got 2 down now. I'm writing my book on directional motivation theory. And it's going to have a punchier name, a little more fun name. But basically it's about the immediacy principle and about want and fear and balancing those two in order to do what you need. And for those of you who aren't aware of the immediacy principle, it's something I strongly encourage you to adopt. And I'm going to read it off my whiteboard, which is next to me. And basically, the immediacy principle states that anything that can be done now should be done now. And so that book is just going to contain my thoughts and ideas on this new theory. So to give you a little bit of background, really quick background, sports psychology, performance psychology, and psychology as a whole tends to be cumbersome. And one of the arguments that I've always had about this program, and constructive arguments, not like complaining arguments. I'm not complaining about this program. I absolutely adore this program. I love this program. this program has given me a family I never thought I would have, never even knew I would have. But one of the constructive issues that I have is that the applied isn't really, it's kind of a misnomer. It's applied after a long, lengthy process of good science. Don't get me wrong. It's good science, but there are things that come up that could be used that I feel our department should be standing up with a bullhorn and shouting about, because I think they're things that would help a lot of people. Those things help me develop this theory of motivation and goal setting. We have what is it? My colleague, how about that, and friend, Dr. Beatty, developed this thing called the timer model that is phenomenal in sports psychology, and we actually discussed it a little bit on the last episode. He was a guest, and I kind of feel like that should be shouted from the rooftops. And I think there's this academic hesitancy that we need to maybe disregard a little bit and just open ourselves up. And because there's risk, right? May be wrong. My model may be wrong, but I'm willing to put it out there, to have it challenged, to have it gone through, to have it implemented, to see whether or not, maybe it works. And I think that the applied physiology and kinesiology should be put out there a little bit more by our department. But I'm going to keep bugging them, so don't worry, that's happening. But my book. So I got 2 chapters. It's not a very long book. I've got the entire outline of it basically sketched out. I just got to fill in the blanks. Basically, what I was telling my wife last night, we went out to dinner, we went to a diner, and I said, I just got to take all this stuff in my head and dump it out so I can get it on paper, because that'll free up a lot of my hard drive, my mental hard drive. But yeah, so that's I'm also going to be, it's certification, summer certification. Got a banner. Got to get a banner made up. And then it's also a summer of, tackling my book, getting it finished and getting it out. I'd like to have it out by August. And then on top of that, I have to have a sip of coffee before we go into this. This one's meaty, so to speak. So on top of that, I started a business in Florida. And that business in Florida is called the Florida Sports Center. And the Florida Sports Center, I'm working on the plan over the next couple of weeks, is a multi-sport facility that in my head has an Olympic-sized swimming pool, 2 full tracks, running tracks, 4 to 6 soccer fields, 4 indoor basketball courts, and 4 indoor volleyball courts. But they're going to be quasi-indoor in my head. And what I mean by that is I saw this really cool thing for this, what is it? Oh, what's the, I'm trying to think of the sport. And of course I went blank on it. CrossFit. I saw this really great CrossFit kind of ranch where it was in a barn, but on 3 of the sides, the doors open. They had these big, huge garage doors, like at a mechanics or at a big garage. And they had these big doors that came up, and I thought that would be awesome if we could have 3 sides or 2 sides of the facility that opened up. That way, it would save money on the power bill, which is huge. But I'm digressing and getting into the minutia because I'm in the process of getting this plan together. So I have this facility idea, but I could never get the numbers to work or get any, find a way. I found a way to make it profitable, but in the immediate term, it was just a money black hole. And I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And I talked to Beatty, the gentleman who was on last episode, and he said, there's this school you should look at. And I'm not going to name the school, but I went and looked at it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what we want to do. And the new idea is to build a facility, but also on site build a charter school in Florida that focuses on sports leadership. And a very talented and amazing woman with the most creative educational mind gave me that idea. I just wanted it originally to be sports, but she had said through her model that she does for her charter school that it was going to be, it's focused on sports leadership, which is really inclusive. This huge inclusive model that, let's say you don't play a sport. They have at the school that she designed, developed, and opened, they have an AV suite where they do something like what I'm doing right now, which is tremendous. So they run a sports-themed podcast and broadcast on YouTube. So that's really great. That's something we can put in there. The other thing we can do is I'm working on talking to people about including scuba diving in it. Making sure everyone graduates with, at the very least, a lifeguard AED CPR certification, but also offering first aid AED CPR. Everyone would have to graduate with that, but also offering a lifeguard certification, which I think would be great. But there's all this stuff, all these different programs, and I have to, this summer, get, like I said, all of that information out of my head and into a little Word document with an accompanying PowerPoint presentation. I just got to find the most efficient way to use my time. And one of the things that I've been doing, I told you about my whiteboard. I've got all of these different colored dry erase, which another partner said, you gotta break it up, but different colors for different things. That way you'll be able to keep track of everything. So that's what's going on. Oh, that's why I was gone last week and didn't give you the show on time. But I thought it'd be important to give you guys an update and let you know what's going on. And if you want to be a part of any of it, if you are as excited as I am about it. The last thing. This is the last thing, and this is super important. This is probably one of the coolest parts of the entire school sports facility project ever. So in Israel, the IDF, the army, is a huge part of society, huge part of daily society in Israel. But there was one population within Israel that wanted to be a part of that, but couldn't be a part of that. So some freaking amazing general went and made it happen. And what was that? So it was special needs, children and adults. They couldn't participate in the IDF. So what they did is they found support jobs for them. They work in equipment rooms. They work in motor pools, assisting people with tools. They make an impact. They do something and are able to wear a uniform, be a part of the IDF, and make just amazing connections with people throughout the country that they would never have. I want to do the same thing at this school. I think we could make room for special needs kids to work in support roles for the teams that we're going to have and the programs that we're going to have. And I think it's an amazing, beautiful opportunity for them to be a part of what we're doing, and be as inclusive as hell, as far as we're concerned. So, yeah, so actually that's what I want to leave on. Everything that is going on is amazing. It's taken a lot of work. I want to thank everyone who's helped me do it. Mom, Dad, Stephanie, Robert, my son. Stephanie's my wife. Robert, my son. Dr. Beatty, Dr. Monty, Dr. Adolphs, Dr. Harrison. Just everyone. Dr. Janelle, and just everyone. I appreciate everything that you guys have done. Thanks. All right, that's it, guys. That's the end of this show. That's the end of this episode. Not the end of the show. That's the end of this episode, and I will see you guys soon. All right, have a good one. Bye.